Can I get one more bite? Let's see if we can get one more bite before this minute. And that's like maybe 40 seconds. I haven't ate today. So excuse my rudeness because I haven't ate today. My stomach got a little upset from some non-dairy yogurt I ate. So excuse me if y'all see me reach over to grab my food or eat. This is what's going to be about. Islam, Islam, Islam. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7. And love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Can we all stand as we recite our Moorish American prayer? We're going to turn to the east. As going within. We'll turn to the east. We put up 5 fingers on the left, 2 on the right, with our heels touching one another, standing on our square. Repeat after me. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islam. All right, we're going to put the share out. I'm going to have to move around a little bit to grab what I need. Islam, Islam, Islam. I want to first rise and give the highest praises to our Father, God Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Also, Allah, the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life that breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. I would like to rise and give high holy honors to all the divine prophets that were brought before us and all their wonderful works that they brought unto us. I would love to give honors to all of them. I want to give honors to our illustrious and divine prophet. And I want to give high holy honors to our illustrious and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder who brought us this message of love. I want to give honors to the forerunner to our prophet, who was like John was to Jesus. And that is our brother, Marcus Mosiah Garvey Bay. He said many things. One that always strikes me and sticks with me daily is, the pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier than them both. Marcus Garvey, when he came with those quotes, they were serious. Islam. I like to give honors to all the heads and sheiks and sheikesses that were anointed, appointed, and consecrated throughout this Moorish movement. I would love to give honors to each and every one of you. I give honors to our elders. Thank you for keeping this movement. For the ones that have stayed the course, that have been in this thing since they were young, that have like stood the test of times, that their life was nothing but a big drama, no different than the prophets, for wanting to bring the truth, stand on the truth, and no matter what, they never fell off of it. Those are the faithful ones. And we know that the prophet he knows the 2 roads. He knows the road above and he knows there's one below. And the one below is one that where the scavengers sit. And he knows about this road. Right? So there's no hiding it. He took the covers off of everything, off of all the secrets. There are no secrets. And there's no connection. What? All right. There are no secrets. So that's why we got to give honors to our prophet and give honors to all the heads and the people that have stood the course. As I said, excuse me, I was trying to fix something over here on this other platform. So we want to give thanks to that. We want to give honors to that. Islam. I want to give honors to all the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, all the members of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, giving honors to each and every one of you that are here today, because you could have been anywhere, but you're here tonight. Islam. So we are, excuse me, my apologies. So we are going to, I'm sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty. Please excuse me for the moment. Not sure what's going on over here, but you know, we're coming out of the retrograde. Coming out of this retrograde, a lot of times your devices, even through retrograde, coming out of it, when we're in, before it hits your phones, your devices, everything kind of acts crazy because it's the energy going on. And a lot of times it can't take all of our energy on top of the energy that's going on in the universe. So then this is what happens, right? This is what happens. Hmm. I have to be faithful to this. So, as hungry as I am, might be a little rude when I'm going back and forth. But we gonna make this happen. It's all. So now we gotta do some house cleaning. We gotta let's talk about the rules and our actions and the way we are to present ourselves and show up in the public, even in private, even when we're in our homes with our families. The way we should act and the things that we should do. Islam. So now for the recitation. For the Moorish Science Temple of America, the divine constitution and bylaws. Salvation, Allah, unity. The divine constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in the flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God, Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Islam. Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, color folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Or we'll say Americas. You can even say that because this is it. This is it. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and become industrious and become a part of uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder. Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam. Now, for the recitation for the additional laws for Moorish Americans by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. The Grand Sheikh is the governing head of our temple. All business of said temple must be approved by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, before being acted upon by any member. Let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their ADAB meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined $13.50 on the first case, and on the second case, $1. I'm going to tell y'all why we keep that the same over here. Because really, in our reality, who has sat down and really did the math to find out what that would be today? And that's an emergency fund. Nobody said that was your dues, because that's separate from your dues. That goes on your emergency fund. If member is working his monthly dues, those are two different things. Those are not the same thing. His monthly dues must be paid. And if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. I'm going to stop at Act 2 real quick just to say something on that Act 2. When I belonged to a certain temple, I belonged to this temple that was in Baltimore, right? So dues were due a certain time before the 5th of the month or something like that. So our dues were $32 or something like that. 30 something dollars, 35, maybe they were $35. So a lot of times I just sent $40 wherever that go, but you had to say where you wanted that to go. Did you want that to go on the emergency fund, or do you want it to go to the Moorish Uplifting Fund? Because it takes finance to uplift the nation. So you see, those are three different things. There's your emergency fund, your monthly dues, Moorish Uplifting Fund. Because it does take finance to uplift the nation. So a lot of times with the extra 10 or whatever, it would go into my emergency fund, or I give it all to the uplifting fund. So those are different ones. So when I hear people say, well, you shouldn't still be saying 50 cents and $1. Well, why not? I mean, if that's what a person got to give, you used to have to put a quarter or $1 in the cuss jar when you was little. If you never did that, I don't know. Maybe y'all didn't. But at school, when I got to high school, some of the teachers had them in the class. Because, you know, in high school, you think your mouth get real slick sometimes. And so they would have cuss jars. And you would have to put $1, 50 cents. You would have to, for every time you said something wrong. So it's just to hold you accountable. Because you can't be standing around on your meeting period. So if you're standing around, it would be no different than you saying a cuss word. Put your 50 cents in the cuss jar, or in the donation jar, in the emergency fund. Put your $1 in that emergency fund. You feel what I'm saying? So it really does not, like, stop acting like it's just so crazy to say these things when you grew up like that. Islam. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. As I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I'm going to stop at Act 4 for a second, because I'm going to tell y'all something. That Act 4, speaking radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Let me tell y'all something about Act 4. Because of all the stuff that goes on in the world, I be having to check myself on Act 4 because we ain't supposed to speak of that. So even though you might have your opinion, I guess we're not supposed to say nothing. But at the end of the day, it slips out my mouth a lot of times. So I still be working on Act 4. Excuse me. But I'm just being honest. I be working on that Act 4 for real in these additional laws. Act 5, all members, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire and let every member exercise his five senses who is able to do so. Because out from your Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam, Islam. All right, I'm going to take a few more bites of my food before I get into this chapter because I'm really hungry and I need some strength because I feel weak. Who is this? Holiday. Oh, okay. What's up, Chewbacca? Excuse me, eat my tropical cuisine real quick. Taking some bites. I'm gonna come back to y'all now. I'm trusting everybody had a great cycle. Don't call them weeks, call them cycles. I hope you all had a great cycle. I hope everything went well for you. We are out of this retrograde as of yesterday. But we're in the shadow. What have you learned from it? Has it taught you anything? Has it brought anything to you? What did you go through? I know I've been through some stuff during this retrograde. I'm not gonna say all bad. I'm gonna say more to the point of not bad, more aware, more awakened. Um, yeah, it's like I don't know. It's different. I can feel it. Like I felt the shift from the eclipse, but going through this and coming, I came from home and came back home because I have two homes. So I went from Colorado and came back to Georgia. And I was in Colorado for 14 days. And I don't know. Now I'm starting to understand, like, when you go in and out of this matrix or this simulation that we're in, how it's so different. Because I'm there and I'm just like, I'm getting these things and I can feel it, but then I can't. It's like a blockage. But as soon as I get back, the downloads just start hitting me. The information, like I was, like the downloads were in me, but they hadn't quite started registering yet with myself. So, man, through the things that I've been through, but also coming out of it has just been very invigorating. I'm learning some things. You know what I'm saying? I truly am learning some things. So um, it's a good thing, guys. It's a good thing. Um, we're gonna hope that we got over there. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but we are going to get started in a moment. Turn this light on. We're talking resurrection. I don't know if people are ready for this one. I feel like they're not because I don't really see nobody moving. I think the topic is scaring people off. Y'all ain't used to this talk. People ain't used to this talk right now. So I think it's kind of like deterring people. They're a little afraid of the topic. But we'll see. Excuse me, Islam to whoever's on here over here on StreamYard. Islam. All right. So, ooh, it's hot. Excuse me. I be having hot flashes. I think I was just saying this the other day. I did a video on TikTok and I was telling him, I said, look, Allah be getting me up out of my sleep. And when he feels like I'm not moving fast enough, he will send a hot flash out of nowhere. And it'd be the hottest hot flash that I have ever experienced because it like literally my whole body feels like it's on fire at that point, right? So I get up and I'm like, yeah, I gotta do what he has commanded of me to do or has said, hey, I need you to give this message. So I know that happened to me the other day and it was, whoa. I was like, wow. I said, okay, get up. And once I got up and did what I was called to do, it instantly went away. So yes, we're going to get into this topic of resurrection, y'all. And I'm going to read from this chapter in our circle 7. So Prophet Noble Ali brought us this amazing literature for us to read, for us to stay connected to, so we can know who we are and whose we are. So nobody could just come tell us anything. That these things are broken down in degrees and they're a little deeper than what you could even imagine. The more I'm finding out, because wow, some stuff that came to me has just been so mind-blowing. And when I say the solutions are there, we're just too lazy to do them. And then too many people want to be right and not just follow the recipe. Everybody wants to add their own and all of these things, no different than they do with anything else. But this don't nothing need to be added to it or taken away. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. We need to follow the instructions, and then following these instructions, it would take us to a different height. We would resurrect. Our minds would resurrect. So resurrection, even in it, symbolic in the physical, that you feel the body and all that. We're going to talk about that, but I'm talking about this resurrection of your mind too. How do you do that? When does that come into play? When does your thinking and your actions and deeds, when does that change? When do you stop blaming everything on someone else and start taking accountability for what you have caused for this to be, what you have brought into it? Because you can't keep pointing the finger at everybody else and you're never taking accountability. That's why I don't like when people blame stuff on my brother Jesus. Oh, he died for my sin. No, he didn't. No, he did not. That's not it. He got up on that cross because he was trying to save you from your own ignorance. Save you from yourself because you being ignorant. You think that because he got up there because you was being ignorant, he came to give you this message to save you out of the mental slavery that we were even in at that time. And because he was doing the work to save his people, his own people turned against him. No different than our own people turn against us today. You can come telling all the truth in the world. It don't matter how you put it. Well, to some people, because they'll dress it up. So people come on because they're dressed up and they look this way. But those are tinsel coats, sweetie. Those tinsel coats have to come off. And the prophet got rid of all the excuses and he pulled all the covers off of all the secret organizations. So it ain't no secret to none of this. And you can tell the secrets is out. I'm watching, not only am I watching sisters leave their fraternities, but the way people are walking away from things that they were so attached to, because they're realizing that's not going to service you any good. That's like putting a God before the Most High. You praising, and that's most people's problem. They want to praise this man, this figure, and still ain't recognize the spirit. That's why you can't believe. That's why I asked, do you believe? Do you have faith? Who taught you what love was? Who taught you how to love? Period. Do you even know what that is? You just think it's a feeling that gets you moving. Oh, I feel love. No, what is that love thing for real? Who taught you that? And how you know that's what that is my question. So we got to get into this, because people, they'll say, oh, I believe in Jesus and he rose again. But if Jesus came in another body and spoke to you, you wouldn't even recognize him. And this is the problem. This is why we have a chapter where John goes into the market and sits as a hermit. Because nobody's going to recognize the king when he comes, because everybody's thinking they're going to see the same person, the same anything. How will you recognize the king? How will you? The prophet even said, when I come back, how you going to know it's me? Most prophets have said that over time and time again. How will you know? You just think you know, because belief is what man perhaps thinks is the truth. But the belief has to kick in somewhere. The belief has to be there first before faith can even kick in. You have to first believe it. That faith has to be that surety, and that fruition must be what you say you are. If you talk in this life, if you speak in this life, if you're teaching this life, then be this life then. All this rah, 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 but nobody's walking in this thing. Nobody's imitating the prophet as he said. Nobody is. Because imitating the prophet, then you understand what resurrection is. Then you'll resurrect that prophet in you. And that prophet in you will come out and go out to teach this holy breath to the people. But that's only if you're in tune with that. He can be in one body, 2 bodies, 100 bodies, 500 bodies, cross the borderland at will. Jesus, brother Jesus, can do this. And he came to show the possibilities of man. So if he could cross the border at will, and he could be in one body, you can't tell the spirit where he could go. You cannot talk about, oh no, the spirit ain't it. You don't know that, though. You don't know that. Because the spirit ain't hit you, maybe. But maybe it's still you got work to do. But you can't discount somebody else, maybe because they don't look the way you think they should show up looking. Maybe they're not draped in gold and all of these different things. You know, maybe that's not what they are. So you can't call that. You can't say that you're gonna know it when you really don't know that you know, because half of the time most people ain't believing nothing. Because they gotta see it to believe it. That right there already denounces you don't. You don't believe in anything. You say you do, but you can't. Because in order for you to see, it has to be physically in front of you to know that this is a glass bottle. No. Spirit lives. Even once the body disintegrates. People can be detached from their soul and be standing here right now in this flesh, in this form, and have no soul in them. Spirit don't die. It just transforms. Just decides to go somewhere else. And there's evil spirits too. So stop. It's not just good spirits. There's evil spirits too. Because you do have this free will to choose whether you want to be in your lower self and deal with the chaos and the lewdness and slander that goes there, or you could be in your higher self and you could resurrect from out of that. Resurrect from out of that nonsense into a higher form, into a higher essence of your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. Like real talk, Islam. So we're going to go into this chapter. And in our circle 7, no, it's not the, it's big, honestly, Once you learn these lessons, it's bigger than the biggest Bible you've ever seen in your life. Bigger than the biggest Bible because it's going. This is civics and our national, our civics, like everything is together. We don't separate our religion from civics because they need each other. How you gonna stay in the bounds of righteousness or to stay in the bounds of law? You gotta know how to fight. You gotta know to show up as a citizen, a good one at that. We ain't never been taught no civics to know what that is. So when people think civics, they're just thinking, oh, court of law stuff. No, civics in the way you should conduct yourself, the way you should show up. That's the civics I'm talking about. Islam. So we're going to go into the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, chapter 18. 18 is a 9. That's a high God number. 7 and 9. Boy, Dylan's God numbers. Completion. Carry a baby for 9 months, 10 months, 9 months. Islam. So Jesus appears fully materialized before Apollo and the Silent Brotherhood in Greece. Appears to Claudius and Juliet on Tiber near Rome. Appears to the priest in the Egyptian temple at Heliopolis. So where I'm at right now, they've already put him on the cross. They've already done what they were going to do to Jesus because he was, bringing the truth and helping drive home the truth and pulling his people up out of this mental slavery that they were in even these 2,000 years ago. They were still into the same thing. So nothing has changed. The site is still the same. Our people are still on the same boat, right? So they've done all this, but we talking resurrection. So when you hear me say Jesus appears, fully materialized before Apollo and the Silent Brotherhood in Greece, appears to Claudius and Juliet. These are different occasions. This ain't all the same people at the same time. He didn't just be, hey, I'm appearing to everybody at the same time. Look at me in the sky. No. Appears to the priest in the Egyptian temple at Heliopolis. So he appeared inside of a temple. He appeared on a boat. He appeared also with the Silent Brotherhood. These were different appearances. So no one's to say he was in the same body. These were different bodies. His spirit was in them though, and he was moving as such. This is the power. This is how we're so detached from who the Creator is, who Allah the Father and the Mother. Because Allah is not only the Father of the universe, but also the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life. Because it says, let us make man in our image. Mother, father, daughter, son, image of spirit, image of soul, that love. That's the image we were made in. So he appears these different times. This is how you can tell resurrection is real. So I said, this might be small, but it holds some power. Because it's the 18 missing years that is not in your Bible. That's what this is. The 18 missing years of Jesus that is not in your Bible today. That's what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought for us here in North America, Northwest America, Northwest of Mexico, Northwest Africa, if you want to put it like that. This is why he brought this here. Because we needed to be saved from not only chattel slavery, but mental slavery. Chattel slavery was over by the time the prophet came. Chattel slavery was over in 1865, y'all. We're talking the 1920s when he showed up. And we still in the same position in 2024. Still black, Negro, and colored on the brain. Because these are energies. These are spirit of energies that that our people possess in them and don't even realize their actions. Their actions, their characters. And our people take on these different characters. And so you see them out acting like Negroes. Be like, dang, why they gotta be acting like Negroes? Them black people get on my nerves. I hear people, I've said that myself. So it's a certain energy that's being put out that puts that label upon you. That's not what you are. Not at all. We talking resurrection. We're going to start right here with one. Apollo, with the silent brotherhood of Greece, was sitting in a Delphine grove. The oracle had spoken loud and long. The priests were in the sanctuary, and as they looked, the oracle became a blaze of light. It seemed to be on fire and all consumed. The priests were filled with fear. They said, "A great disaster is to come. Our gods are mad. They have destroyed our oracle." But when the flames had spent themselves, a man stood on the oracle pedestal and said, "Allah speaks to man not by an oracle of wood and gold, but by the voice of man. The gods have spoken to the Greeks and kindred tongues through image made by man. But Allah, the one, now speaks to man through Jesus, the only Son, who was and is and evermore will be. This oracle will fail. The living oracle of Allah, the one, will not fail." The living oracle of Allah, the one, will not fail. Because the living oracle of Allah, now that other one gonna go. That the one made of wood and gold, that's gonna fail. Ain't gonna work because there's nothing there. It's like an empty, it's like a shell. It's like an empty shell to a car. There's nothing in there. Nothing in there to give back anything. There's no compassion. There's no none of that up in there. But the living oracle of Allah, the one, will not fail. Will not fail. Never. Apollo knew the man who spoke. He knew it was the Nazarene who once had taught the wise men in Acropolis and had rebunked the idol worshippers upon the Athens beach. And in a moment, Jesus stood before Apollo and the silent brotherhood and said, "Behold, for I have risen from the dead with gifts for men. I bring to you the title to your vast estate." He's bringing the title to our vast estate. Most people don't even know what that is. They keep thinking this is a piece of paper. No, it's not. We're talking Jesus 2,000 years ago. What paper did they have for you 2,000 years ago that was bringing you back your vast estate? I'm just confused. Because it wasn't a piece of paper they was bringing to you for your vast estate. That's why I say you can't look at this as a physical. I need to see it to know that that's what it is. You're an atheist, if that's the way you feel. Because he brings you the title to your vast estate. He's coming to show you. He's coming with these gifts to show you that you're able to do these things. Islam, all power in heaven and earth is mine. To you, I give all power in heaven and earth. You see this? This is where this is coming in. This is your vast estate coming for you if you know how to accept it. But you can't be on the fence. As I keep saying, you can't be straddling this fence thinking we could be in the shade of gray. Allah, God, whether you be cold or hot, he don't need no lukewarm folks. We don't need lukewarm anything. Spew you up and spit you out. You can look at that right now with the things that are going on in the world. Nations, people being spit up and spewed up out of here. Because it's sour to the stomach. Very sour, very pungent. Don't taste right. So he says, all power in heaven and earth is mine. And this is Jesus's words because it's in quotation. To you I give all power in heaven and earth. He says, go forth and teach the nations of the earth the gospel of the resurrection of the dead. Go teach the gospel of the resurrection of the dead. The dead state of mind. Islam, the dead state of mind. And eternal life through Jesus. The love of Allah made manifest to man. That's your vast estate. Where is people getting this piece of paper thing from? Because that's not what that is. This is spirit speaking. This is how you're able to touch Allah. You're able to touch the prophet through the spirit. But if you don't recognize the spirit, you'll never recognize the king. I don't care how smart you are. If you don't recognize the spirit, Because that's infinite knowledge. That's not finite stuff. You don't recognize the spirit, you're gonna never recognize the king as much as you can hoot and holler and say that you do. Islam. And then he clasped Apollo's hand and said, my human flesh was changed to higher form by love divine. And I can manifest in flesh or in the higher planes of life at will. This is Jesus. Islam, but he can. Yes, he can. Islam. What I can do, all man can do. Go teach the gospel of the omnipotence of man. Go teach the gospel of the omnipotence of man. Allah is omnipotent, omnipresent. Islam. So go to teach the gospel of the omnipotence of man. Then Jesus disappeared. But Greece and Crete and all the nations heard. All the nations heard this. Claudius and Julia, his wife. You know, I want to stop there for a second because I want to take this. No, maybe I want to continue on because I'm going to go into we're going to go into our Moorish literature. And there's some things I'm going to read out of there that come back to this, that are for this. And it's been this, I'm not going to call it a folk's tale or a story, but I know this was even given to me when I came into the Holy Temple of Science. This same, when I read it to you, you'll know, and you're going to probably see people, if they do come on, but if they do come on, you may see them say something to me about saying this for those that are just unaware. But this is elder knowledge. This comes from those that were around at a time that these things were written. And I always say, if you wasn't there, you can't really coin anything if you wasn't there to really witness anything. So, you know, most want the truth, think we have the truth, but we're walking around with a portion of it. We don't have it all, though. Nobody does. As much as they try to tell you they do, not everybody, no, nobody has all of it. We each possess a portion of it. And if we came together, we would create it all as one. Because Allah ain't giving just one person all of it. He give you a portion for your understanding. He never said, I'm gonna give it all to you. I'm gonna give it all to one person. I'm gonna only give it to the person in Baltimore. I'm gonna only give it to the person here over here in California. I'm gonna only give it to the person in Mississippi. That's not what he said. This is a universal message. It was put in a universal language, and it's supposed to be taught all over the world. Claudius and Juliet, his wife. I'm gonna go on and finish it out before I read those. Claudius and Juliet, his wife, lived on the Palatine in Rome, and they were servants of Tiberius. But they had been in Galilee, had walked with Jesus by the sea, had heard his words and seen his power, and they believed that he was Jesus made manifest. Now Claudius and his wife were on the Tiber in a little boat. A storm swept from the sea, and the boat was wrecked. And Claudius and his wife were sinking down to death. And Jesus came and took them by the hands and said, Claudius and Juliet, arise and walk with me upon the waves. And they arose and walked with him upon the waves. 1,000 people saw three walk on the waves and saw them reach the land. And they were all amazed. And Jesus said, you men are wrong. I am the resurrection and the life. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. Right? That they that are dead shall live, and many that shall live will never die. You feel me? Will never die. By mouth of gods and demigods, Allah spoken to your fathers long ago. By mouths of gods and demigods. By mouth of gods and demigods. You know what I'm saying? Mouth of gods and demigods. Um, let's flip you over. Hopefully, yeah. By mouth of gods and demigods, Allah spoke unto your fathers long ago. But now he speaks to you through perfect man. He sent his son Jesus in human flesh to save the world. And as I lifted from the watery grave and saved these servants of Tiberius, so Jesus will lift the sons and daughters of the human race. Yeah, every one of them from darkness and from graves of carnal things to light and everlasting life. I am the manifest of love, raised from the dead. Behold my hands, my feet, my side, which carnal men have pierced. Which carnal men have pierced? The carnal men. And then it may not, you got to even think about that. It may not have been like that. It might have been they was piercing with their words, their actions, and their deeds. They was tearing Jesus up in that way. Islam, he was feeling that. Claudius and Juliet, whom I have saved from death, are my ambassadors to Rome. And they will point the way and preach the gospel of the holy breath and the resurrection of the dead. And that was all he said. But Rome and all of Italy heard. The priests of Heliopolis were in their temple, met to celebrate the resurrection of their brother Nazareth. They knew that he had risen from the dead. The Nazareth appeared and stood upon a sacred pedestal on which no man had ever stood. This was an honor that had been reserved for him, who first would demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. As I keep saying, being resurrected, no, I mean, it doesn't necessarily, your mind has to be resurrected at times too. That's why, to me, as I say, religion is realigning you back to that source. Islam. The Nazareth appeared and stood upon a sacred pedestal on which no man had ever stood. This was an honor that had been reserved for him who first would demonstrate the resurrection of the dead. When Jesus stood upon the sacred pedestal, the master stood and said, all hail, the great bells of the temple rang, and all the temple was ablaze with light. And Jesus said, all honor to the masters of this temple of the sun, S-U-N. In flesh of man, there is the essence of the resurrection of the dead. The essence quickened by the holy breath will raise the substance of the body to a higher tone and make it like substance and make it like the substance of the bodies of the planes above, which human eyes cannot behold. Because there are things that fleshly eyes can't see. They're just far too fine for these fleshly eyes to see. There is a holy ministry in death. The essence of the body cannot be quickened by the holy breath until the fix is solved. The body must disintegrate, and this is death. And then upon these pliant substances, Allah breathes, just as he breathed upon the chaos of the deep when worlds were formed. And life springs forth from death. The carnal form is changed to form divine. The will of man makes possible the action of the holy breath. When will of man and will of Allah are one, the resurrection is a fact. In this we have the ministry of mortal life, the ministry of death, the mystery of deific life. My human form was wholly given to bring my will to tune with the deific will. When this was done, my earth tasks all were done. And you, my brother, know full well the foes I had to meet. You know about my victories in Gethsemane, my trials in the courts of men, my death upon the cross. You know that all my life was one great drama for the sons of men, a pattern for the sons of men. I have lived to show the possibilities of men. I say, he did not come to show us impossibilities. He didn't. He did not come to show us impossibilities. He came to show us the possibilities of man. And I don't know, it's just crazy how we don't even see that. What I have done, all men can do. What I have done, all men can do. Literally. The master looked. The form upon the sacred pedestal had gone. But every temple priest and every living creature said, praise Allah. Resurrection, y'all. Like, that's what we on. We on this resurrection thing. We are on this resurrection thing. Do y'all hear me? Like, we need to resurrect our minds. We need to come back and we need to vibrate on a higher tone. We need to vibrate on a higher tone. We have to stop with this. You know what I'm saying? We need to vibrate on a tone that takes us to a higher essence of who we are. Because we're so caught up in dabbling down here in this lower self that we don't love ourselves enough to raise ourselves up to this infinite wisdom that is possessed in each and every one of us. You know, Jesus sat with the courtesans, the thieves, the prostitutes, but he taught them. He didn't necessarily do what they were doing. He wasn't doing their thing. He was teaching them, though. And so they deserve just as much as anyone else. Anyone that might know all this or can quote this and quote that. Let me tell you something. As I said, he'd rather you just be completely cold and completely foolish. Because God takes care of babies and fools. That's what it says in the Bible. Babies and fools. Because he would rather you just be a fool than be playing. Than to sit here and be playing with knowledge. To be sitting here and just playing with what he is, the gifts he has given you. That you're supposed to use these gifts and you're supposed to go out into the world and you're supposed to be the one to go share these gifts. You're supposed to be one to pour into others. This is why civics is important. We're going to have a class on that too. Because that more civics guide, it kills all of this. If we would follow that recipe, what from child on up. And if it means when you come in, you got to start at first grade, start at first grade. If you're unaware of what this information is about, we're going to have to put you on the first grade level. It'll be an adult class, but you're going to be learning what the children are learning because we're all children coming into this thing. We're all babes coming into this thing. You know what I'm saying? Out from the mouth of babes come wisdom. Wisdom speaks on high, and wisdom is the mother. Wisdom, will, and love. Wisdom is mommy. That's a feminine energy. Wisdom speaks on high. You know that that's a fact because your big mama, your great grandma, the great anyone, grandma, mama, grandma, big mama, all came with wisdom. They're gonna give you something. Now, whether you want to listen to them, because they give wisdom. It's just a lot of times you don't want to hear nothing they gotta say because you don't think that they know. But they've already been here. They done been through some things. They probably done seen worse than you have ever thought to see. So you don't think they know? We're going to talk about this resurrection still because I want to get into this part of this when it talks about this. Let me see. I have a few that I want to touch on. So in the literature, right, these are excerpts from 2 letters by Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated, the spirit of the prophet reincarnated into another form, August 7th, 1929, and declared that he was Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated and Prophet Noble Drew Ali founder. Taught from 1929 to 1945 in this form. He taught through the mails as well as in person. So nobody said he had no big old temple. Nobody said that. So he taught through the mail. And y'all heard me talk about them 7 churches and them letters that were written to the 7 churches. And it was all on a mail route. John wrote the letters to the 7 churches. This brother's name was John Givens Eel. He wrote letters. Symbolic, I'm trying to tell y'all gotta pay attention. Just like with Abraham Lincoln. You gotta pay attention to signs and symbols, y'all. Y'all be so caught up in the person, in the man, in the flesh, that you're missing it. You're missing it. And he laid it out for you. If we would stop brain banging and keyboard banging, we would probably be able to get these lessons instead of worried about what somebody's saying about you or what they're talking about you about and all of that. Because we're going to get on what's going on with our children. We're going to get on that too. And how I feel some people really ain't doing their job. They should be doing their job. And it's more sisters doing this thing than it is anyone else. And it doesn't make any sense. But I'm gonna get on that in a minute. We're gonna get on that in a minute. In this pamphlet, there are excerpts from two of his letters. This material is compiled by several followers for the uplifting of fallen humanity. Let me tell you something. No matter who they were, if you agree that they were there, if you don't agree, they were doing the work. Are you doing the work is the question. Because for people to down these people or try to say this ain't true just because you want to be right. And if it had to be answered today, and if you had to stand before Allah today, and what if he told you you was wrong? That you didn't follow the prophet, that you didn't imitate the prophet, because you didn't do nothing he told you. And it's not even in the circle 7 talking about this pedestal and this empty chair. But we talk about this even in this letter of how he came. And nobody noticed who he was. That's why I said, because you don't believe, so you can never recognize the prophet. You would never recognize the king when he show up. So the founder, Noble Drew Ali, that's our alpha. The reincarnated prophet, Omega. It's the alpha and omega all the time. Twins run deep, y'all. Twins run deep. Spiritually. To be a spiritual twin. Any of that. So when you're looking at who John Gibbons Ill was, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we just came out of showing you he was materialized so many times. And there's even another chapter that talks about it too. It's another chapter that talks about it too, where it talks about the Jewish prophet, and that's in the next chapter. Jesus sat down in the vacant chair. Prophet Noble Drew Ali sat in a vacant chair too, and nobody knew it was him because they was looking for someone else. And he specifically asked you, would you notice him when he come back? Islam. So, let's see. Do I want to? Yeah, I'm going to come out of this one first. I'm going to go on and come out of this one first. Yeah. Should I do this one first? Maybe not. Let me see. Because there was something right here I wanted to. Okay, now. Let me see this. I'm going to come out of the literature. Before I go into that, I just want to say something on this one. And then I'm going to give some Brother Allah Il, some of his words that he said. Because as it says, masterminds trace themselves back, and we never forget. Masterminds don't forget. They can trace themselves back. Islam. So, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So this is the Caveat Emptor. Caveat Emptor. This is on page 22 of the literature. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction. And having traveled over the road years before, the prophet knows where every member is along the road. His spirit knows this, y'all. A few feet below is another road where schemers walk, where traders grin, and corporates bask in the sun. They think they are on the same road with the true Moors. But the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructions as they fall for the last time, and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers, flying high, catch scent, devour, and leave crying out. Caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcasses. The Moors high above see these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exists, hurl themselves downward by their own works as the hawk waits. That's deep. So for those that be speaking against the prophet in the temple, because even you have to understand, you might be in your own temple with your clique of people, but then you talking about the next temple. No, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. So now you're talking about your brother or sister, and you're accusing them falsely. The out of order, the out of law that a lot of throughout the movement happens, and they swear they be on their square straight up standing tall. No, you're not. You're wobbling because, and he knows where you are. He's already seen you along the way. Those that were with the prophet then are with him now. The spirit of these people still live. We are our ancestors. It's wrong. The more I'm digging into me, I know I was too. I was right there with him. It's wrong. Right there with him. Is that the only other one I put in here? I believe so. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go into this one, and then we're going to go into this letter that I know they're going to be saying stuff about. They are, but you know what? Resurrection is real. I believe. I have faith. Who taught me how to love? Actually, I taught myself because I had to learn to do that to myself. Now, my mom and dad, they gave me the foundation of what love was. But when did I really learn it? When I had to learn how to love me. And I'm still learning it. So it's an everyday task. Brother Alail, he was an amazing, amazing brother. So we're gonna, to me, Alail was that third reincarnation. And the reincarnation continues. It don't stop. The marathon continues. As Nipsey says, we have the messages be there. You just think they're supposed to come from a certain person. I guess they're supposed to come from somebody dressed up in some clothes. Nipsey was the one to deliver that message. The marathon continues. The resurrection continues. It's long. But Alail, he was prophet the third. We'll say the third reincarnation of that spirit. And he spoke on a lot of things. Brother Alail, these are some of his words. I just feel, let me see. I'm just gonna read some of his stuff, and then I'm gonna go to where he talks about mother and where resurrections even intertwined into that. Islam. From Brother Alail. Brother Alail said, the prophet told you that only a few would be saved. I want you all to read the 5th, 25th, 27th, 28th, and 29th chapter of the Holy Quran. The 5th chapter is going to take place in 1950. I want you all to speak 3 or 4 different languages and to typewrite too. Moors, don't go back to sleep. Just stand for what the prophet said and let the worst come. Make no difference what they say about you or what they call you. Just say they talked about Jesus. You all don't have anybody out there to protect you. When your own don't protect you, just call the 5 points. The sisters have no more protection than a rabbit with dogs chasing them. We're going to stop right here. Sisters do not have no protection. We got just as much protection as a rabbit in a field with dogs chasing it. Literally. Our children are being murdered on the streets. They're being put in jail. All these things are happening to our children. Why our brothers that just know all this knowledge is just sitting back and not doing anything to help solve these problems. And it seems as if the mothers and the women are going to have to step in and put their lives on the line and stand in front of this stuff. Because the brothers aren't doing it. So you can't be imitating the prophet when you're not even doing the work to uplift humanity. Our children are important, not just yours, but all. So when I hear people dismissing others because they lost someone in their family and then you have no compassion, you ain't with the prophet and you've never been with the prophet. I don't know where you came from. I don't know who raised you. But we still operate in love at all times. When it's time to be mean, then be mean. But you never dismiss your sister. for anything she's going through. I don't care what y'all doing on these platforms. You never dismiss your sister. Because when your sister's in trouble, you're supposed to assist. You're supposed to go to her aid. But I'm hearing that people are talking down on those that have lost someone. Baby, let me tell you something. These babies are getting tore up in these streets. And we got the remedy to stop it. But our brothers don't want to stand. They don't want to stand because too many of them done came up out of something with this information. And so they don't want it. They don't want to stand on their square for real. They don't really want to do the work. So they're going to make excuses and stay on Facebook and YouTube and argue with each other. Because we can hide behind these screens. But how do you show up in real life? How do you show up in real life? Like, that's real talk. It sounds good. But y'all ain't doing nothing that needs to be done. And we need help. We so caught up on who's with what clique, and y'all decide to who you're going to tell information to, who you're not. Because if you ain't with my clique, you don't get it. Nobody has time for that. Like, y'all still playing church, and y'all still playing like little boys in the sandbox. As I've always said, I think since I first kind of been up in here, it's like in the sandbox, you're constantly playing, fighting over the toy. You don't know. That's why girls usually know how to play by themselves, and we know how to share. But y'all constantly still in the sandbox fighting over the trucks. So we are never going to get nothing done. I don't understand it. But when I hear those things, I see who really ain't about the work. And why the prophet said to watch your enemies, dear Moors. Watch your enemies. Because they be the ones right next to you. Swear they about the movement and are not. Swear they're about this movement, but not. They would rather see it die and stay dead. The Holy Temple was resurrected at one time in the 80s and had to go back again because they're like, nope, not clean enough. Holy means cleaned up. None of us have cleaned up enough to call it the Holy Temple of Science, to make it the whole again, to close out the circle and make it a whole. All of you that believe in the reincarnated prophet, get together and have their meeting. I don't want anyone admitted in those meetings. Smoke, drink, chew, eat chicken, use lipstick, straighten their hair, wear earrings, nail polish, play policy, gamble, or brothers that are going from one sister to another. Sisters must wear long dresses and high necks because they catch cold in their lungs. You haven't seen the prophet since 1945. After he left, you all went seeking for me, and you found me. You knocked in the door. You knocked these doors down. Here, wait. You knocked and these doors down here were open for you. Now all things will be added unto you. Those who don't live by the Constitution and my words, they will have to take their cards from their pockets, take off their fez and turbans, and go hide behind the sun, moon, and stars because they can't stay on this earth. Brothers that don't treat their wife right with respect and take care of her, the ash pile is waiting for him, for their days are shortened. I'm going to skip over the George part. Because he told George to go get a job. So I'm believing George was his son. He said, I told him to go get a job. Don't you take care of him. But there's a lot of Georges that run around. There are too many false prophets and too many so-called leaders out there. Don't do what George tells you to do. Do what I say. If the brothers would have stood, the sisters would have stood. I blame the brothers for what went on. I forgive the sisters. They don't have anything to worry about if they stop and go back to the law. Our law is in our Circle 7. Our law is our Constitution and bylaws. Islam, mother is great. She gave me my form, and she took care of it until I was big enough to take care of it myself. When I get out of this form, she will give me another one. Live right and treat your form right. When you go and come back, you will come back in a human form. If you don't live right, you may, who knows, come back in any animal form, because man don't die. Don't die. So you see that even right there is giving a description of that. Because you even heard that growing up when you were young. If you ever went to church. I grew up in the church. So this is nothing new to me when I even hear these things. So I guess that's why it's not scary to me or sound anything out of the way. Because I grew up 7-day Adventist. So it was always the whole Bible. So Revelations was always talked about in my household. I learned about it in Sabbath school and other places. So this is nothing new to me. It's nothing spooky or crazy to me. It now that I'm older and have really learned what these things are, I know how to apply them because a lot of it is symbology. We learned in signs and symbols, y'all. We were not word people. It was signs and symbols. If you go all the way back to who we are anciently, you will see that. The signs and symbols were there. Wasn't always by word. So we think because his word is here, we need to see it come alive in front of our faces. And that just takes us away from really knowing the spirit. Islam, you got to know the spirit. So I'm going to go into this letter real quick, and then I'm probably going to close out this meeting. I don't know. We'll see, because I do want to talk about how this situation happened, and I didn't really get to watch the whole thing, but I want to go and watch it. But I was feeling some kind of way when I heard the way a person came at someone about a death in their family, and that right there was just, that's not the prophet. I'm gonna be honest with you. If any of y'all seen that, this is not how Prophet Noble Drew Ali rolls. This is not how the Moors roll. This ain't how we roll. It's not how we roll. We roll in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Period. Everyone has a flaw. Don't think that everybody's perfect, because ain't nobody perfect over here. I told you I'm still working on Act 4. I'm still working on Act 4 in the bylaws. I should have said it. They got on my nerves, but not supposed to do that. But here we go. We're going to talk about this letter. Well, this isn't a letter. This is just some. These are. Yeah. I guess is this a letter? Well, I'll just say it's an excerpt. That's what I'll call it. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science, 315 Osborne Terrace, Apartment 9, Newark, New Jersey, 07112. It gave a phone number and everything. November 30th, 1987. This is to inform you that Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the form that Allah selected to help him on earth, said in 1928 that he started to go to Mexico to regain his health. But he changed his mind and was going home to rest for a while. And he said, "Children, when I make my return, will you know me?" They said, "Yes, we will know you because of the burns on your hands and face." The prophet had been burned in a furnace as a child. The prophet said, "When I make my return, I will be wearing a size 17 collar and a 9 shoe." At that time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was wearing a 15 collar and a number 8 shoe, a size 8 shoe. On July 20th, 1929, this is why I chose Unity Day in Atlanta, because this was the day that the prophet left the forum. The founder, the prophet, left the forum. On July 20th, 1929, he got out of the forum, and 18 days later, on the 7th of August, which, if I'm not mistaken, is it the 7th or the 8th, is Marcus Garvey's birthday, is August the 8th. Islam. He reincarnated into the form of a sheik whose name at the time was John Gibbons Ill. Remember, I told you, you gotta remember this. John Gibbons Ill did work from 1929 to 1945 through the mail and in person. So John Gibbons Ill, Elohim Ill, John, the forerunner. He did it through the mail and in person. But John in the Bible also wrote the letters to the 7 churches in Revelations. Remember that. That's why I say signs and symbols. Forget about what they talking about, signs and symbols. And he could give you the portion of what he needs you to have. And maybe at that time, he needed him to have that information. And then after he was done, okay, we gotta go. Now we'll go to the next. Islam. So you to me, when you try to denounce that happened, You denouncing Allah. You saying Allah is that's impossible for Allah to do that. Oh, so then that's why he said, watch your enemies, dear Moors. Watch your enemies. They be the ones right next to you. They be right next to you and you don't even know it. If you don't believe in resurrection, like real talk. The reincarnated prophet said that when he got out of that form, he went around to every temple to find a heart that was clean enough to get into. You hear that? Because when the prophet found each and every one of us, we was fools and coolies. Fools and coolies. So that ain't something. He was divinely prepared. Jesus was divinely prepared. Prophets are divinely prepared. Whether it's from the womb, whether it's from when they come out, they be divinely prepared to do this work. So you can't never say who was put there to do what. Right? Islam. Whose heart was clean enough to get into it. The spirit returned to Chicago and saw John Givensville, who was a mechanic at that time, working on a car on a creeper. When John Givensville heard a noise at the garage door, he pushed himself from under the car and the spirit got into him. You can't say that that's impossible. If you do, then you shouldn't even be a part of this movement. You should just put your card and button, stop wearing your turban and your fez, and just go back to where the prophet found you. Because you ain't even rocking with Allah like that. You're not even rocking with the Most High like that. Because you don't even have enough faith or belief that this could take place. That's how small-minded and finite thinking that you are. That's the finite thinking. You still down in the lower essence of it all. You ain't even rised up to the sacral chakra yet. You still in the root. You ain't made it to the sacral. So the heart, like he said, I'm trying to find a heart clean enough for me to get into it. Found a heart that was clean enough to get into it. And couldn't even find a heart clean enough at the time. He had to go to his main man. The one that rolled with him all the time, knew more about him than any of these other brothers that claim, oh yeah, he did this, he did that. But this man was with him more than anybody. More than anybody. So you don't think he knew how that man's heart was for real? You don't think they had deep conversations while he drove him around? That man knew about his whereabouts. He trusted him with his whereabouts because he drove him everywhere and he was his mechanic. So there was never a time that he had to disconnect from his brother. Because when something's going on with that car, like the car of Krishna, he could sit there and say, like this works this way, and the car is made up no different than we are. Spirits can get in cars. If y'all ever seen the movie Christine, I'm just trying to understand. Because spirit, it could do some things. It can move some things. So when you denounce that a prophet is reincarnated, that means when you say that that's not true, that means you don't have faith in Jesus. You don't believe in none of that stuff. You need to stop playing and just go to the cold side. What Cat say is Allah's side or the other side, and we ain't concerned with the other side. So go to the other side if that's what you need to do. But this real work, this real essence that's quickened by the breath, I'm telling you, Allah lives. Spirit never dies. Islam. When John Givensville heard a noise at the garage door, he pushed himself from under the car and the spirit got in him. A European saw him unconscious with a star and crescent in one eye and the circle 7 in the other. The European became excited and went looking for a Moor and found a brother named Sledge Bay and told him that his leader was in the garage because he saw the star and crescent in one eye and the circle 7 in the other. Brother Sledge went to the garage and found the prophet unconscious. He got some other brothers to help him take the prophet upstairs to bed. Finally, when the prophet opened his eyes, he pointed to himself and to the Constitution on the wall. His words were, "I am back." And when he began to speak more, he was weak. He asked the brothers to help him downstairs so that he may put his feet on Mother Earth. He wanted to go ground, y'all. The first thing he thought to go ground. I need to go feel Mother Earth. I need to go feel the heartbeat under my feet. I need to feel Mama pull me back because she done brought me back. So now I need her energy. I need her love. I need her compassion. So I need to feel her. So they took him downstairs. He put one foot down and then the other. The brothers at this point thought the prophet was going to fall. So they reached to catch him. But the prophet moved so fast they couldn't catch up with him. On September 19th, 1929, the prophet went to Pitman Hall, where the Moorish meetings were held. He sat in a vacant chair under the Moorish flag. During his time, all temples would put one vacant chair under the Moorish flag, waiting for their prophet to return. Hold up. I'm about to come over here to 19. Islam. Because in 19, which I'll read this on Sunday, Jesus appears fully materialized to the Eastern sages. So this is another account of him showing himself materialized to the Eastern sages in the palace of Prince Ravana in India, to the Magian priest in Persia. Three wise men speak in praise of the personality of the Nazarene. So I'm going to go over here too. I'm going to start at 5 in chapter 19, the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet. The wise men sat at the table talking about the needs of India and the world. The door unto the banquet hall was in the east. A vacant chair was at the table to the east. And as the wise man talked, a stranger entered, unannounced, and raising up his hands in benediction, said, "Ah, hail." A halo rested on his head, and light unlike the light of sun filled all the room. And Jesus sat in the vacant chair. And then the wise men knew it was the Jewish prophet who had come. And Jesus said, "Behold, for I am risen from the dead. Look at my hands, my feet, my side." I'm going to come back over here. On September 19th, 1929, the prophet went to Pitman Hall, where the Moorish meetings were held. He sat in a vacant chair under the Moorish flag. During this time, all temples would put one vacant chair under the Moorish flag, waiting for their prophet to return. When he sat in the vacant chair, the people did not believe. Here we go with belief. That's why I said belief is what perhaps man thinks is the truth. So you can't, if you don't even believe this, you don't believe in Allah. Stop playing. Do not believe it was him because he was not in the same form as before. You see how people be looking for something to show up. They're like, you're looking for a form to show up, and that may not be the form that he decides to occupy. You don't know. The spirit's going to choose that based on the heart. So it ain't got nothing to do with the color of your skin either. Because you share a certain skin color don't mean your heart is pure. You don't know who that spirit, where that spirit may decide to go. Because it could go in 1, 2, 200, 300, 500, 1,000 at one time. A lot across the border at will. So what? You don't understand that power. Why are you even in this thing? Islam? So for that vacant chair to be there, and he sat in the vacant chair, the brother who was conducting the meeting, because he wasn't in that form that everybody was expecting him to be in. That's why I say it's so funny how you will, and I'm going to say it like this. They didn't, it wasn't the same form, so they didn't believe it. You don't believe it when your people show up and they may be coming to deliver you a message, but because they don't look a certain way, dress a certain way, have something on that may grab your attention because it looks like they got a bag or something, you don't even hear them. You don't even see them. So you miss your mark and miss your blessing many times by overlooking those that you think that Allah did not give them the ability to show up and give you the message. You miss it. I guess because you think they're supposed to have diamonds on their neck and long flowing hair. No. Makeup on. No. I just told you. He said he don't even want you in there. You got a lipstick straight in your hair with no flat iron. None of that. No. Like, has to be some kind of, we have to show some kind of modesty to ourselves in some way. So even with those things being said, like we even have, I told you I'm working on 4. But when I see these things, I have to point them out because I'm a hairstylist. 30 something years in this thing, licensed. I have sat here and watched Miss Beyonce knows do this commercial for this hair care line that I told y'all was not no hair care line. That it is, I mean, how when you wear wigs? What bothers me the most, because she shows up to give this information now from every hairstylist, because I done seen hairstylists, male, female, we've been doing hair forever, say the same thing. Sis, there's no way that's your hair if you're holding your head like this while he's blow drying your hair. You're laying back in the shampoo bowl. I had one lady say, he did shampoo her hair. No, he didn't. Nobody did none of this. This is a shampoo. There was no manipulation to that scalp. He was back here on the hair like this. Okay, that's a wig, bruh. By the time she came up and sat in the chair to go flat iron it, those were two different colors. She had super black with platinum blonde highlights, and then you can see the texture of the wig going like this. If you really look close to where the blow dryer is coming down, see, hairstylists, we pay attention to things, attention to detail. You can see the hair, whatever it's mixed with, because it's not even full human, because you can see the texture of it doing this. And then as they're parting, you think they're parting. They only part to there. They didn't really go back. And then once they start moving, that's a full head lace. You can see the way it was sitting up on top of her head like this. Like, those are my locks. It was sitting up. Like, you could tell there's some hair under there. Like that. And that's what I mean. Because she show up, everybody believes her. But if someone else showed up and they look like me or just the average Joe, oh no, we're lying. Because it ain't her. But you never know how Allah and where this spirit goes. You don't know who it shows up in. It could be the homeless man on the street. And because his heart is pure, that's where the spirit decides it wants to reside. That good spirit. My salon, little 5 points, surrounded by nothing but homeless people. I felt more safe with them than I would with any regular person. Because I knew they weren't going to let my clients be harmed. They weren't going to let nobody come over to that shop if I was in there at night. Even when me and my children had to live there, we felt more protected inside that building than anywhere. Because they were outside, whether they were sleeping on the porch of my salon, on the roof to the business next to me, on the stairs on the side of the house, whatever was going on. And in the time when they would get up, they're up early enough. They're going to make sure the trash is picked up from the night when the people done partied up and down the street. Like, respect. So you never can say where this spirit resides. You are not the one to say that because you don't know. Islam. So I wanted to talk about that, where he sat in this chair. And we talked, and he talks about this. He says, and Jesus said, behold, I am risen from the dead. Look at my hands and my feet, my side. The Roman soldiers pierced my hands and feet with nails. And then one pierced my heart. They put me in a tomb, and then I wrestled with the conqueror of men. I conquered death. I stamped upon him and arose. So even right there, he's telling you, he said, I came to show you the possibilities of man. He didn't come to show you no impossibilities. He came to show you the possibilities. And each one of us, a Messiah resides in us. That's only if you want to tap into the Messiah in you. That's if you want to tap into that. Islam. So we're going to go back up to where this is taking place, and they're giving account to the things that happened. So he sat in that vacant chair. The people didn't believe it was him because he wasn't in the form as before. The brother who was conducting the meeting would say, next, brother or sister. And the prophet would reach for the Quran, but the brother held it so high that the prophet could not reach it. So even when we're up demonstrating, to be honest, like when I came into the temple, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, I know when you go up to demonstrate, you're not supposed to take your own Quran. The teacher is supposed to hand you his. So this is where this is even coming from. So even when we're not operating our meetings in that way, like when we walk up to the podium, we're supposed to allow the teacher or the sheikh, our grand sheikh, to hand us his material or that Quran that is supposed to be there for the temple. Islam, so it can't be, nothing can be taken away or put in it. Islam, because you know you'll write notes and you have, because I got notes all through mine. So the most appropriate thing and respectful thing to do is to really get the one from the teacher. Islam. So he reached up for it. He held it too high because he didn't even notice that's who he was. Islam. But you see, they said, we know that's the Nazarene. We know that's him. We've been waiting for you. They recognized Jesus. You didn't recognize the prophet. Islam. November 30th, 1987, from the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, page 2. After this occurred several times, the prophet said with a loud voice, "You all don't believe in me." Then he pulled out a sword from a sheath and said it again. "You all don't believe in me," and started walking out the hall. As he walked down the aisle, a brother stood up and said, "I believe in you." And the prophet said, "Come and go with me." The prophet went to 447 East 40th Street and taught there from 1929 to October 31st, 1945. And before he got out of that forum, he said he could do no more for us. He could do more for us in spirit than he could in form. Because that's the truth. You can do more on the spirit plane than you can do on this earth plane for your people. So even when our loved ones are taken from us and they're gone on to glory, what I have really learned being a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that while they're there, they're able to work out problems that they couldn't work out for us here. They couldn't. It just we was probably in the way. And then they might have, you know what I'm saying? We was probably in the way of them doing it. But now that they're on the spirit plane, they're able to work out certain things that they could not work out here. And they're willing and they're able to do the things for us that they were probably wanting to do while they were on this plane. And now they can do it. Islam. So you gotta always know that. Like he said, you know, I could do more for you in spirit than I can in form. He also said, as long as you can see the sun, the moon, and the stars, know that I, your prophet, am here. And when you can't see the sun, the moon, and the stars, know that I, your prophet, am still here. I will never leave you again. I could put my spirit in 1, 5, 10, or 100 brothers. They will be the prophet just the same. Islam, see, spirit moves, spirit works. So you can't denounce these things that have been told to us. You can't denounce these mystery systems that have been told to us, because why? You're so caught up on history that you're afraid of the mystery. That's the mystery. He says, I get 5, 10, or 100 brothers. They will be the prophet just the same. Because that heart is going to tell. He ain't going to come up in there if your heart wicked. You can look all shiny and cute and have on all your jewels and your pendant and your pins and your dress right and your Moorish regal, and no. What's going on within? Because that's what spirit's going to tap into that. Like I said, we can dress up and make it look good on the outside. We can do all this. I can have all this stuff on. What does that mean if I'm not living it? What does that mean if I'm not working on myself? It means nothing. It means nothing. It's just another thing on to try to show some kind of hierarchy over somebody. It means nothing. If we're not using it in the proper way, these things mean nothing. In conclusion, look for a continuation of the life, works, and teachings of the prophet in future editions of the Moorish News. You got to look for the works, the words, the deeds. You have to follow it. That's how we trace ourselves back, y'all. We trace ourselves back that way. Masterminds can trace themselves back. We can trace ourselves back. And this is what we need to be doing. Not arguing. I want to talk about this situation that's going on with our children, y'all. Brothers, I'm calling y'all. July 20th is a day of unity. The Unity Day in ATL. It's going to be at 2470 Campbellton Road, Atlanta, Georgia. This is a day of unity, of solutions. I'm looking for Hebrew Israelites, Nation of Islam, Moorish Americans, Baptists, I don't, whatever. If you have the mind of unity, and if you're tired of watching the things that are going on with our people, with our children, with yourself, health wise, you should be here at this July 20th event, because we're going to be coming up with solutions. We have people bringing mini gardens that they're already starting for you. Just little mini gardens with different plants of food that you can start growing your own. We're not coming together to just talk about what we know. We don't need a bunch of smart people in the room. I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. I love for there to be smart people around. But this ain't what this is for. We want you to come and demonstrate. We want you to come and present yourself. We want vendors. We want to be able to keep our money flowing amongst ourselves. Let's see how we can keep it generated and staying within our community like every other community does. Let's see how we can do that. That's one thing I learned from Mama Tassili by doing these events. That's how you can keep the dollar in your community flowing in your community. You do festivals, you have vendors, you have speakers, you bring people out. We build, we uplift each other, we love on each other. But we need some solutions, because it's cool to sit here and talk all day, but we need solutions, y'all. The solutions have to be there at this time. So July 20th is what that's all about. Unity in the ATL, the Drew Ali experience. July 20th, 1929 was the day our prophet, the founder, got out of his form. He came back 18 days later in another form. But this is when the founder, as I said, the Omega, went out of form. So we ready to celebrate him, because that resurrection came 18 days later. But his name needs to be heard throughout this nation. How he brought us these lessons to save us from ourselves, to save us out of mental slavery, to save us from calling ourselves Black, Negro, colored, African American, and all these other things we call ourselves. Now they done came up with non-binary so they can really take you out of the human race. And you don't even realize that's what they're doing. They're going to snatch everybody out the human race. You ain't going to be able to be attached to nothing. They're going to be like, you're a what? Oh, no, we don't even know what that is anymore. Because you've allowed them to come and take away everything that belongs to us by diluting to names and labels that only take you to slavery. I don't care how you think it defines you and this is who I am now. It deludes you to slavery. Why you think James Brown said, I'm proud to be Black? Because it was ready to take you out of the know that you're Moorish, to know that you're a Moor, to know that that is not what you are. You're not a crayon. So the only way we can know thyself, the only way we can know Allah is to know thyself first. That's why on the Halls of Kemet it even says that. Know thyself. We say know thyself and thy father God Allah. Know thyself, you'll know Allah. Because that is a spirit that quickens. I promise you, it'll change you up. As you start knowing thyself, you start saying, man, I can't be one. I'm not doing that. I need to have more respect for myself. I need to have more respect for womanhood. I need to have more respect, period. So you start raising yourself to a higher essence, and then it's quickened by the breath. He'll give you the words to say and everything. But with this, we need to take this and we need to be out here helping our babies. Our babies are being snatched up. There's a little Muslim baby missing right now. And I'm like, I don't care where you are, share it. They're taking our babies every day. And we just, and our brothers is just sitting back talking about who was against the prophet. I'm starting to think y'all against the prophet because ain't no work being done with y'all. A bunch of talk. I mean, I see some, but we got too many brothers out here to the point to where y'all should be showing up like them Hebrew Israelites. They demonstrate 40 at a time on the corner in West End. And I can see them all through the city. Now I wish we could just get into the brains of our young people. I mean, we sitting here yelling at the corner and stuff. That's not doing nothing for our people. So I'm not saying they got the answer because all that yelling, children don't want to hear all that. They don't want you to talk at them. Can we have a conversation to talk to me? This new generation ain't for that. You're not gonna browbeat them because they'll just stop listening to you and go on about their business and just be like, oh well, whatever happens, happens. Because they don't want to go through that. Where's the compassion? Where's the stand-up guys? It's supposed to be upright, right? Fearless. But it seems like it's a bunch of fearful ones. Don't want to say nothing, ain't trying to start nothing, ain't trying to make nothing move in the way it should. Just want to keep doing this with each other. And it's a sad thing because we need to be so timed out from all of that. You got to be exhausted. You all have to be exhausted from this. I'm saying it's time for us to really, really bring solutions to the table. No more drama. No more issues. No more who's right, who's wrong. No more of that. Straight solutions. We need solutions. Because until it hits your back door, you keep ignoring it. But baby, things are hitting everybody's back door at this point. Because that's the problem. We're just sitting back allowing these things to take place. And it's more sisters out here ready to really step out there and say, you know what, forget it. They're not going to do it. We might as well do it. They keep wanting to stand behind and hide behind this and hide behind that. But their everyday life, that's not their language. They can put on for you on Friday and Sunday, maybe even Wednesday. But throughout, you don't even see them out walking, being engaged in the community, even attempting to help save humanity. So that's why when the prophet says the things he says, I'm starting to look at him a lot different now. I'm starting to really say, I can see he was pointing out people that are in the movement. Islam, that's the way it's starting to sound to me. And he knew these things. That's why he said, I know along the road. I know all of them. All of them along the road. And it's a sad case that that we hold this in our hands, and these lessons are so strong, but we refuse to do the work. You can tell. Islam. So Islam. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I'm going to read a few words from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your holy prophet. This is the instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds, that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near. So says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Morris, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind, oh my hands are itching, come on through this, to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your life to protect your movement and your profit. Watch your enemies, dear Morris. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet. So no matter what it says, if you speaking against the prophet, if he said I came back in 10 bodies, 15 bodies, 30 bodies, you say no, he didn't. That's a lie. You're speaking against your prophet. I'm just gonna tell you, you're speaking against your prophet. Because you're saying that that ain't real and resurrection is real. He wrote about it even in the Circle 7. So how wouldn't you tie them things together? Okay. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, watch your enemies. I'm telling you. They seek to do you harm. He says you got to take the enemy at the gate, the foe to seek to do you harm. Everybody. We know his life was a big drama with these folks. Islam. Divine warning by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work and in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who holds malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. First of all, it says if you hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet. So it doesn't matter what temple it is, just because it's not your temple, any temple, you're not supposed to hold malicious feelings toward any temple. He did not specifically, oh, no, don't show malicious feelings toward your temple or the prophet you decide to rock with. It says any member or any group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant. What is our divine covenant? It's chapter 25. Sounds like we out of law a whole lot, right? Islam will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. Because it's your works, your deeds, and your actions. You have to live this. You got to be the fruition of what you're talking about. Be what you know. If you're talking about this is what you know, then be that then. Show up as that community leader. Show up in making sure these kids stop killing each other. Show up when these babies are getting locked up. Show up when these little girls don't know what to do. We all need to be on this. But brothers, it's big work for y'all to do. Way more work than us. Because the men, these young boys, these young men need y'all. So you need to let go of y'all's ego. All y'all need to let your ego go. And your pride, because that's all that you feel with is ego and pride. And get out here and start doing the work that needs to be done with these children. The only ones I really see doing the work is Temple Moorish. When it comes to doing anything with the youth. They cutting hair, they doing all that with them. I sure can't wait for a team to show up with me, because that's how we moving, like Temple Moorish. For real, for real. Like, it's time out for the games that people are playing with this thing. And we're just going to sit here and watch all this stuff just do this when we're the ones that are the custodians over this thing, and we ain't doing nothing to custodian. You're right. We just coating around this bad boy. But unless you're cultivating, then all you are is a coat. As my sis said, she bust that thing down to me yesterday. She gave me that degree so hard. I said, ooh. You just a coat if you in the building. And that's all you doing is being in the building for show or sitting behind the screen for show. You are a coat. But once you cultivate this thing and push it out to where you are planting seeds and cultivating, then maybe the work is being done. Because right now it ain't. It ain't. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where either prophet found you. So if you know good and well you ain't for no resurrection, you ain't for the return of the prophet, you ain't for the return of the gods, why don't you just stop doing this? Turn in your card and button, cease wearing your turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. He found you as a fool and a coolie. So you can go back to that state of mind. Because as I said, Allah, God would rather you be a fool and a coolie than sit here and try to straddle the fence like you really for something and you're not. You either for it or you're not. You either God's side or the other side, and we ain't concerned with the other side. I keep telling y'all that. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Man, 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 man. Follow this divine principle. For if you don't restrict to this divine principle, then you are not a true Moor. And it's just the prophet left so much in this literature in this circle 7 that you have to have all of it in order to really catch it. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta dig into these things. You gotta be faithful on your study with this. Because it's not something you can just pick up and think you can read it in one day because it only pertains, it only has, let's see, how many pages we got in? I mean, with the index, you probably got 91 pages. That means nothing. Break these words down. Break these lessons down. You can't read this one time and think you got it. It's impossible. No. It just starts looking like words to you. But as you start peeling back the layers, as you start taking it in degrees and don't rush it, allow it to come to you in degrees. So sometimes just reading a portion of it and speaking from same, attempting to read a portion and speaking from same. Because we can think we're reading it, but in all reality, we're not really reading it. Because a lot of times you'll be like, he carried on his own great works. You ain't stopped at no semicolon, no apostrophe, no comma, no period. You just kept going. So when you don't even realize that you have to stop there because it's number one, you need to pause because that's even giving you time to think on it before you continue on to the next phase of that sentence. This is why they use these what do we call them? Dang, I can't remember what you call them in school. But this is why we use the semicolon, the comma, the apostrophes, and all that. Because they're there for a reason. So even when they're there to make a pause or to say something else to continue on or whatever, it's giving you a moment to really think on it. You got to dissect that portion. That's a degree in there. It ain't all flow together. It's a degree. So we have to start looking at it in that sense when you're picking up, no matter what it is, even in your Bible. I started reading even the Bible like that, and I'm like, whoa, it's a total different understanding than just reading it and just going and going and going. And a lot of times just reading these parables. Like read from the beginning, take your time with it, see what it took to get to that point. Because then you're only getting a portion of it. If you're only getting that small portion, how are you really getting any kind of understanding? Or how is Allah coming into you to bring you some understanding of what you read? Because we'll swear we got superior. No, none of us have superior understanding. None of us do. We're all working on this thing. And it's so important that we do that with one another, though. As I said, y'all hit me up for July 20th, Unity Day in the ATL, $50 vending spots. I'm not looking like literally. I know it's $300-$400 sometimes. $50 vending spots, though, y'all. And come and celebrate and join arms with your people. Let's know who we are. Let's meet each other. I don't care where you're coming from. Come from everywhere. Because we need to be able to, if I gotta get up and leave to Indiana, I know my sister's in Indiana. If I gotta go to Ohio, I know I got a sister or two in Ohio. If I need to go to Minnesota, I know I got a sister or two or three in Minnesota. If I gotta go to Colorado, that's where I'm from. We all have to know someone somewhere, because if it ever came down to it and you just had to pack a bag and go, and you were going to the next place, this is why he said we needed to live close together. Because if you got to get up and go like some of the people had to do in the Bible and just leave everything, what if you did make it to Idaho? Do you know somebody there? What if you did make it to Texas? Have you made any connections? That's why I say we are on these social media sites a lot of times for the wrong things, when we should be on here connecting with people, building relationships. And I'm talking about good, solid relationships with like-minded people. That's what these platforms are really for. So we need to be on that level. We need to be on that vibration with all of this, because they make so much money off of our content. They take it, they steal it, they go with it. But guess what? They can't do it like we do it, though. They can take whatever they want to take. It's never going to hold the same value that when we do it. Because y'all know when we do it big. So I tell y'all, I love me some TikTok. TikTok is the business. And I really trust that whoever purchases it, and it does go to Web3, I will be excited. You hear me? Excited. Because then you could actually have ownership over your digital real estate. That's what this is. That's what we're doing. We're building real estate on this bad boy. So you will have all of that will be owned by you. They can't go sell it. They can't take it. You know, unstoppable domain. Go look that up. Unstoppabledomain.com. That's gonna be the whole Web3 thing. Get you one. Lifetime of your own that it owned by you. Ain't nobody come back talking about, oh, you owe money and now you gotta pay $1,500 for this name. No, that's not how that works. So get into it, because these platforms are important for these things to be teaching. So I'm gonna keep calling out to y'all. I'm gonna keep calling out to y'all to say that we need strong men and women who know their condition can be better. We need those strong men and women for real. Bring your children, bring your family, because this is about solutions and this is about taking us to the next level. Islam. So I trust you guys have an amazing evening. Now we're going to close out in prayer. We put up 5 fingers on the left, 2 on the right, with our heels touching one another. We turn to the east as going within. Repeat after me. Allah, Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Peace and love, family, peace and love. In the stream, in the live. Oh, now I can eat my food.